What's going on, everybody? How you doing tonight? Welcome to Dark Horse Discourse. So grab yourself your favorite drink and let's just chill. So, people are probably wondering what's the meaning behind Dark Horse Discourse as it being titled. Well, obviously the discourse part is pretty self-explanatory, right? We're here to just chat, have some conversations. Now, the dark horse part, now I think it kind of rolls off the tongue quite nicely, but really the reason behind that is, well, it's primarily around indie creators. I'm an indie creator, and I think that all indie creators have the ability to be a dark horse, an underdog, naturally, but to break out, right? To really create something that shines out or outshines other indies and potentially outshines the mainstream. I think everyone would want to be a dark horse in the indie scene and ultimately the mainstream to create something that really stands out and really impresses people. And so I want to be a dark horse creator, but I also want to help bring attention to and shine a light on other creators. Promotion is going to be a big chunk of this show, naturally. And yeah, I want it to be about lifting others up and trying to get the good campaigns funded, as highly as possible. So that's the meaning behind the dark horse part of it. And the other part of it is just to have honest discussions about topics, and not just indie comics, but also legacy comics, film and TV, pop culture, just things that are going on even in Twitter land. And I think a lot of folks I've noticed in the past few years are starting to shy away from live streaming, or I've even heard of some folks that are afraid to start live streaming simply because of guilt by association. And I think that's the biggest issue in this space is not only the fear of guilt by association, but those that are trying to guilt people because they stream with someone or they like someone. And that's something that in the past year I've witnessed myself with folks coming at me, trolls. And I do think some people are afraid to speak their mind. They're afraid to join some of the group streams, and it's really a shame. And so, hopefully, folks can see that. Hey, you know, not be afraid to be honest and just have discussions around any topic that you want. Right? I mean, we're in America. That's supposed to be one of the biggest things here, right? Freedom of speech, not being afraid to speak your mind. And I I want to help other creators realize that, hey, don't be afraid of some minute voices out there that seem strong on Twitter, but in reality, they're just loud voices, and a lot of them aren't even creators. I mean, you do have some that are creators, right? But a lot of them are just scorned folks who want to have some sense of power or control, right? Because if they hate a creator for whatever reason, oh, their book is late, or I wasn't happy with her, I don't like how they present themselves, all the numerous reasons that they come up with, well, why don't they just do it better? Why don't they just create a book and blow everyone's socks off, outfund them? But for some reason, most of these trolls never do that. And you'll see that really quickly. So, how do they feel accomplished? How do they feel powerful? Well, it's by trying to tear down creators. And a lot of times, it's not even really targeted at the person that they are seemingly going after, right? You're essentially a proxy, meaning they are trying to go at you with the ultimate goal of impacting or making another creator look bad. And it's, again, that one creator that they just can't stand. And that's where the guilt by association comes into play. And so I hope a lot of creators will realize that hey, yeah, it looks like they're blowing steam off towards you, but in reality, they're just trying to make another creator look bad, and they're really just trying to make up for their own inadequacies and lack of accomplishments, most likely, right? Because otherwise, why would they spend hours on end every day clipping channels out of context to try to make some creators look bad. And most of those creators are doing nothing but trying to lift other creators up and trying to help folks. So um, I want this channel to be a place where folks feel welcome to come and promote their works. Eventually I'll be having guests and all that, but also just be an example of, hey, we can try to get these books funded. We can actually help folks, and let's also try to break down that fear that some folks have of joining streams, speaking their minds. Because I think in a lot of cases, the more you speak, the more you get to know your potential audience, the higher your backing will be, and that's how it should be. And it's something I learned really early on: is you cannot make everyone happy. You cannot make everyone like you. You can try to fence it. And the thing is, you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm this group or I'm that group." You don't have to be tribal either. Um, but by all means, you should not be afraid to say, "I am CG" or "I am this group" or "I am that group." You should be able to do whatever you want. But even if you try to satisfy everyone, it's not going to work. Folks are still going to get upset that you're friends with certain people or that you're on certain streams. So you're better off just speaking your mind. You're going to gain backers. You might lose a couple, but I tell you, you're going to gain more than you lose. And you're going to have folks that are interested in what you say, not just what you create, but what you say. And a lot of times, because they're interested in what you say, they're going to end up wanting to see what you create. So that's the purpose behind Dark Horse Discourse. So thank you guys for being here. See, we have a good amount of people in the chat, so thank you guys. I'm quite honored by that. So we have our first chatter there. We have Kitty Did, so thank you for joining. Another great promoter in the space there. Was just on her channel yesterday. So for folks that aren't aware, every Monday morning she has a Good Morning CG show where she promotes folks and talks about hot topics. So definitely check that out. Make sure you sub to her channel. We have Zombie Boy. Woo! What's going on? Tevin the Lore Seeker. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Welcome, Michelle and Hale. And yeah, thank you, Tevin. In regards to my recent con, yeah, I've done probably about five smaller events in the last couple months, one decent sized con. So yeah, I've been really active out in person, and that's been going really well. I have another event in Frankenmuth again, which is a famous like old traditional German town in Michigan. So I'll be there this Friday selling right before Christmas. So it'll be crazy there. They have the biggest Christmas store in the world. So definitely an interesting place. Let's see here. We have Corey, Mr. Corey Barton, the artist for a majority of the work tied to the Vigilantes Creed campaign, which we'll take a look at later. What's going on, man? Good to see you. I think I can speak for everyone when we say like we are ready to see more of your work, man. Definitely excited to see you and your brother's work, especially in Drominoids. um, definitely start sharing some more work, man. Let us help hype it up. We're all really excited for that. And what's going on, Niobe? Another gentleman that does a good job promoting folks. He welcomed me on his channel early on when I joined Twitter and got involved with some of the folks in the indie space. So thanks for being here. And thank you, Katie, for dropping links already. Appreciate that. And we have Grogu. Welcome. We have Flady. Benjamin Soto, another great creator in the space. Welcome. And yeah, thank you, Niobe. All right. So the first segment I want to get into is called BA Recommends. All right. So I've had a huge TBR when it comes to indie comics. I was on the fence of doing individual videos, right, reviewing comics. I've done a couple, Dark Knight Returns and The Killing Joke. But it is hard to get views on those videos, and I'm very, very limited on time to do stuff like this. So I'm actually glad I held off. And in a lot of cases, these creators have new campaigns, which I can show off their previous campaign and then start talking about their new campaign. So today I read Immortal Rising 1 by our friend Aaron C., a good friend to the channel and a lot of the folks in the chat here. And this was a very underfunded project. I think he raised around 4,000 ish on Indiegogo initially about a year ago, and then he raised about, I don't know, 17 to $2,000 on Fund My Comic after he actually stood up to me or stood up for me when Eric July did a little bit of a dog pile on me on Twitter. So glad that that happened just because it gave him some well deserved sales. And right now he has his second installment of this series live on Fund My Comic. It might be live on Indiegogo as well, but he raised over 5,000 so far. But yeah, great book. See, I'm not typically a fan of manga or anime, um, with the exception of a few properties. But the art that Jose Garcia did in this and the storytelling that Aaron put forth was really, really well done. I mean, the art was extremely clean and eye popping. It had just a nice blend of Western comics and manga. For folks that are into D&D, Lord of the Rings, things of that nature, this is going to be up your alley. I highly, highly recommend it. Every D&D nerd out there should be picking up this series, but just really vibrant colors. The storytelling was really easy to follow. There's a lot of good action, a lot of good humor dropped throughout the story as well. And it, even though, like most indies, right, it's not like 100 pages plus, he did a really good job introducing all the characters, different planets and worlds, and just really building up to a larger story arc. And so just really well done in regards to the storytelling there. And yeah, Jose has really unique artistic style. He's able to do the line art as well as coloring, which there's not a lot of folks that do that. Corey is, of course, one of those guys that does that, and that's why I picked him up. Just really, really talented, and so you know he's a guy that you don't hear enough about. And same with Corey, same with Joe Ball. He also has a very unique style that pulls in some manga influence. So, but yeah, you can just tell with the colors and the style here. It's just really, really nice, really detailed. The backgrounds are really, really pretty, and it after you read the dialogue and the word bubbles on the page, you wanted to take a couple seconds to check out all the background. There's also some space scenes as well, some awesome spaceships, and but yeah, just highly, highly recommend that book. Also came with some awesome stickers and stuff like that. But yeah, let me pull up his campaign here on Fund My Comic here. All right. So yeah, this is like his storefront here on Fund My Comic. I'm pretty sure it might be still in demand on Indiegogo. So whichever platform you prefer. So mods can feel free to obviously drop these links in the chat here. But yeah, definitely recommend backing this. This guy's a really good creator, a really good dude as well. Stands up for other creators. He's had his channel going for years. He's brought on a lot of creators, done a lot of promotion, and he has a show every Friday night with a few folks that are also great creators that I would recommend checking out. And yeah, feel free to check this out. But let's play his trailer real quick here. All right. Yeah, sorry about the no noise. Like I said in the chat, newbie problems there with my first stream, but at least you got to see good representation of the art there. So fantastic art. But yeah, definitely go check this out. You can get the first book, which actually Corey did a new cover for that, and then Jimmy Reyes did the second cover there with that ogre. So definitely recommend picking up both and supporting a bunch of great creators here, and it's very very affordable as well. There's a lot of different options here, but yeah, definitely I back this one. I mean, you get first and the second um, version here, 50 page each, perfect bound. I mean, for only $35, so great price. And can also support Fund My Comic if that's your cup of tea as well. So please check that out. All right. And then the second thing that I would recommend currently would be The Accountant in regards to films. So, obviously, right now there's a lot of hubbub around the Superman movie coming out in 2025, and I'll cover that a little bit after this segment. But uh, highly recommend that folks check out The First Accountant, which came out, I think it was back in 2016. This was a film that back in 2016, I was just going to the movies constantly. There were so many movies coming out, whether they were, comic book movies between Marvel and DC, but also just movies like this, Arrival, Man from Uncle. And this was one that I was like, oh, Ben Affleck's in it. A huge fan of his work. So checked it out and absolutely loved it. Went and saw it probably 3 times in the theater because of that. And I watch it every year since then. Um, and yeah, just fantastic cast with Affleck, Simmons, John Bernthal's in it, and just a really good and unique vigilante film, but a unique vigilante. Um, very gritty in tone, but it has a really heartwarming story. Backstory for all the major characters, but it has some twists in it that you just absolutely would not expect, and they just really really drive home the story arc in that. And there's also some really unexpected but great humor in it. So that's a movie I highly recommend. It's one of the best stories I've seen in film. A lot of great action scenes, especially if you're into a lot of gun action. There's a ton of that. But that the second film comes out in April, I believe it's slated for. So definitely check that out. And then on the TV front, um, one that was kind of a dark horse for me was Tracker. So I've never been a fan of a lot of the stuff that's been on Paramount the last couple of years. I didn't mind Halo; that was pretty decent, but for the most part, the new Star Trek shows are not a fan of those at all. But Tracker, it started out quite slow, but it really picked up. It has a really good mystery to it for the overarching story arc for the main character, but each episode tells a really good story that builds up into the overall arc, and then kind of a subplot that they have going on in that. But I've always been a fan of Justin Hartley as an actor. He was in, well, for folks that did watch soap operas. I watched them as a kid because my parents watched them. He was in Passions long ago, which was a really strange and kind of goofy soap opera, but he played Green Arrow in Smallville, which is why I started watching a lot of his uh, TV shows and stuff. But obviously Smallville was fantastic. But yeah, really really good show with a lot of good action. So definitely would recommend checking that out. So yeah, now let's talk about a movie that I won't recommend at this time, but it's hasn't came out yet, so I am not going to do a bunch of videos complaining about it, trying to get rage bait clicks and all that. But that would be, um, yeah, Superman, which I am is not looking very super to me. I don't know if you guys watched the little teaser trailer, which was like CW quality and like animation or CGI. I don't know. It was just like a spinning Superman symbol that says "Look up." Very, very underwhelming, especially compared to a lot of the other comic book movies when they have a teaser trailer. Um, yeah, and then the promo image that they have going on right now, same thing. I mean, the colors look great, but Superman does not look very super there. And this is where, and a lot of folks know I'm a huge fan of the Snyderverse and Henry Cavill as Superman, but Henry Cavill just had a really dominant presence as Superman, especially because of his physicality. Right here, I mean, it just looks awkward, right? And I know the pose doesn't help his chest, but like there's no musculature here. There's nothing dominant about it. He just looks young. Again, just nothing that wows me. So I don't plan on seeing it in theaters. I will probably watch it when it comes out on a streaming platform, but I'm not excited about it, of course. Part of that is because I'm just not happy with how they handled the whole situation with Snyder. And the other thing is that there's no build up to anything at the moment. There's not even like a large slate of films where you have like an idea of what it's building up to, right? With the Snyderverse, you knew it was building up to Dark Side because they planted some Easter eggs in some of those films. And with Marvel, obviously, you had this massive cinematic universe that was building up to the Avengers and and all that. And so you were always excited about the build up to see how it was going to end. But this, it's just like starting over to me is just like it took all the excitement out of it for me. So and the casting is a little bit underwhelming as well. And yeah, again, the appearance of the actor, I think it's David Cornsweet, it's just not. It's pretty underwhelming. So, but yeah, be interested to hear other people's opinions on this and their thoughts. But yeah, I think the trailer might I think it might come out on Thursday, so it'll be interesting to see what that comes out with, but yeah, absolutely nothing about what we've seen is exciting, and, so yeah, that's that, but let's check in on the chat here. Alright, what's going on? We have Richard Ombre here, Forest Pub. What's going on, man? We will be featuring his active campaign in the promotion segment coming up, so excited for that book. Was Passions the one with the magical midget? Yeah, yeah, that was a really goofy and weird, um, soap opera, but I remember watching it even in college because it was so freaking weird. It was just one of those things where you're like, "I just wanna watch it because I wanna see how weird it gets." It was odd, but yeah, there was a magical midget in it. Oh, what's going on, Jim? Thank you for joining. Yeah, Box Top Comics, thank you for joining. That's not an S, it's a negation symbol. Yeah, the symbol is, again, just not there's no wow factor in anything that I've seen so far. And we have Andrew Campbell, welcome. That's a bird. There was a pic with the giant pink blast in the sky and him putting on a shoe. Yeah, that was really strange that that's what they basically kicked off the whole Superman promotion with was him just like putting on his boot, like, I gotta go, fight some sort of alien or encounter. And it's just like, because everyone's been essentially propping this up as, oh, it's gonna be hopeful, right? Because it's not Snyder, it's gonna be the opposite. Even though if folks watched the Justice League cut by Snyder, it ended up being extremely hopeful, right? It was a longer story arc, but nevertheless, it was just a very odd picture, and the suit did not fit well. It was like baggy, like he didn't look jacked at all. It just did not scream Superman. It looked worse than the Superman Returns promotion and outfit. And I'll be honest, Brandon Routh was a pretty good Superman. He looked the part for sure. I mean, the suit, the musculature was in. The movie altogether was a bit corny, but yeah, that was a strange picture to start promotion with. All right, we have James Hurley. Welcome. See, man, James Gunn is just a hack like Joss Whedon, even though one of my favorite TV shows is Firefly or Angel. Yeah, Firefly was a great show. That's something I definitely recommend, and the film or films tied to that, were really good. But obviously, what Whedon did to Justice League was just a disgrace, in my opinion. Clearly, we're not respecting Snyder's work, and given his family circumstances and the tragedy that he was going through, like I can't believe that they did that to him. So that was a shame. Dr. Ben, just here for the magical midget stuff. I don't blame you. Welcome. And what's going on? Amazing Gaming Productions. Yeah, he's with me on this one. Not excited. All right. Postman's Lounge. This stream needs more editing than BA's novel. Ah, welcome to our first troll. Welcome. Yeah. And it's funny because he's obviously one of many trolls that say, oh, your book needs this, your book needs that. And then you find out that they've never read it. They didn't back it. And obviously they're trolling. So good job. So yeah, that's the Superman part of this. Yeah, again, not excited for this. We'll see what shakes out. I mean, I'm not going to go out and tell folks, oh, don't back it or don't go watch it. I'm not going to do a bunch of videos. That's not my cup of tea. But very skeptical of it. And for me, I can rewatch the Snyderverse over and over and over again and be happy. So I'm very thankful that those movies and the Nolan verse as well came out. So um, yeah. Insults are more atrocious than my novel protagonist. Why don't you show me or tell me more about my protagonist so that we can understand if you actually read the book or not? You literally just admitted that you never sent it to an editor before crowdfunding. No, I didn't. I actually did hire an editor, like most people do with novels, as they should, and the same with comics. An editor is very, very important. I think folks have learned that even multi-million dollar um, campaigns or pre-orders have went without editing, and things of major errors have been caught, even misspelling on titles for their own not heroes, but I guess pay for a hero activity characters. So yeah. All right. Let's see here. So let's hop into the promotion segment before I go on my weekly rant, even though a lot of my stuff is gonna seem like rants. So let's jump into promotion. So what I'd like to do every week is promote at least three campaigns that are active. I mean, when I say active, I mean even in demand. I mean that's active. But of course, if stuff is getting closer to the wire on the first 60 days, we want to make sure that folks get funded so that they can go in demand, because in demand is a phenomenal tool. I've seen folks like Joe Ball that worked on my campaign. Right, I think he ended his first 60 days at like 15,000 a couple years ago, and then ended up going to nearly 90,000 in demand. So obviously, it's crucial that folks hit funding, but in demand really gives you that time to really push your book even further. And even myself, I think I ended mine at just over 5,000, and now I'm over 13,000, approaching 14,000. So very happy. I was able to go in demand. That was huge. So all right. So the first one on slate here, and this is one that's in demand, would be Shane Davis's Inglorious Rex. So this is one of a few campaigns that really, really sticks out. This property has some really unique characters, unique storyline, and I mean, just looking at the characters here and the setup that he has, it really just it wows you in regards to other indie campaigns, which isn't surprising, right? He is a pro at what he does. He really cranks out the work, and he's one of the guys that is leveling up in regards to not just his art but his funding. right? His second issue outfunded the first issue. There's a good chance his third issue is also going to outfund the second. So that's really hard to accomplish. But Shane is one of those guys that he and Mandy have the Pimp My Comic segment that they do on YouTube quite frequently, and that has helped a lot of creators, including myself and some of the folks here in the chat. So um, it's awesome when these pros, lead by example, and they do lend a helping hand to smaller creators like myself and some of the guys in the chat here. So it's really important to support them as well, and not to support them just to support them, but because their properties look really interesting and the art is fantastic. So he's at almost 260,000 on his Nine Lives Comics website, and then he's also on Indiegogo, and I think he's over 300,000, which is just fantastic. But yeah, very unique story here about genetically manipulated clones and the world of Rex fighting. So folks that are into boxing, MMA, things of that nature gives you that good mix of that and science fiction. So there's some really good covers here by EBS and others, and he's got some supplemental stories. So these are like John and EBS campaigns where there's just a lot of content, so you can get a lot of bang for your buck. So highly recommend folks go check this out. So I'm gonna play the trailer. No guarantees the audio is gonna work, but let's at least check out the art here, and let's get some of these campaigns increased in regards to funding. Oops, newbie problems. Thanks, guys. um, so yeah, awesome trailer, great animation there. Definitely check that campaign out. I posted the link in the chat there, 9livescomics.com as well as Indiegogo. And yeah, occasionally him and Mandy have that Pimp My Comic segment, so definitely check that out. He's on Kings, every Monday night, of course, and he does some live streams from time to time. So definitely support Shane Davis. All right. And then the next one I want to share is Phenomenal Tales #1 by our friend Patrick Quinlan. He has a show every Wednesday night called Comicsgate Commando. So definitely check that out. So that's tomorrow night. Um, he had a campaign last year for a magazine, which was essentially a comic, but very unique story. Ties in a lot of Soviet Union historical information, and then marries it with a fantastical and futuristic story arc. So this is Phenomenal Tales #1, Minotaur. He's got Peter Gilmore working on this in regards to colors, and he did this really cool cover art here. Um, but yeah, again, another guy that's working really hard to bring new stories to light, also promoting folks, and so good example for the indie community. And again, excited for this story because I myself am a huge fan of stuff that ties in, Soviet Union history anything tied to Russia because I've lived there and just very interested in the history when it comes to that country and that region. So definitely check this story out. And I think the main portion of this campaign, yeah, it ends in just under 2 weeks here. I know he's trying to get to 5K, so would definitely love to give this a really good push. So if folks can check this out, that'd be great. To support from my comic as well, doing this. So let's check out the trailer. Again, it'll probably be muted, but at least you can check out the art. Uh, all right. So yeah, folks, please go check that out. Drop the link in the thing here. All right, cool. And then the next one that I want to go over is Richard Ombre's The Blood and the Sword. Here. So this one just kicked off last week on, or actually this week on Kitty Did's channel. So another creator that has other creators on his channel constantly, big promoter, a good example in the space as well. And this one, I mean, the first installment came out with a bang because it was a $5 comic. So he did something really unique. He brought his costs down and again, $5 plus I think it was like $5 for shipping. So you can literally get the first comic, it was around 20-ish pages for only $5. So obviously some great value there. And then now he has the second issue here about a year later, same deal. He's doing $5 for the digital or the physical comic plus shipping. So really, really great deal. And then he also has, some bundles there. You can get a comic and a T-shirt for only $25, which is awesome. And I think he also has like a retail, yeah, bundle where you can get six of them for $20. So that's a fantastic deal there. But yeah, this is one that I'm gonna probably be reading prior to next week's live stream here for probably a BA recommends. What I've seen so far it looks like a really fun story. Something he created with his daughter, which is really awesome. It's an all ages story. A lot of folks are really loving um, the lizard there, Mango, and yeah, but really cool art. Sounds like a really fun story. So yeah, please check this out. I mean, obviously, it's a great deal, so why not? And yeah, support Richard Ombre. Let's check out this trailer. Awesome. So yeah, again, I'm not sure if that one was muted or not, but that was a fun trailer. He does a little bit of a slap back on a troll that was going at him a few months ago about a really minor typo in his story. Just like that troll in the chat. So they're everywhere. All you can do is point and laugh. So yeah, go check out Blood and the Sword. I'll throw this also in the chat here. All right. So yeah, there's Richard Ombre, the creator himself there. So yeah, he's saying he's got Hojo on tomorrow for Classy Talk. So definitely, folks, go sub to his channel, and let's make sure that we support the creators that he's having on his channel as well. Yes, every trailer's been muted. Yeah, one of the complications. That's all right. It's the art and the story that matters, not the sound on the trailer. And then last but not least, I am going to bring up, of course, Vigilante's Creed. So yeah, still going strong on this in demand. This is on Fund My Comic as well. Again, between the two, I think we're at about 13,500 at this point. Looks like I'll be closing this out probably at the end of February. Um, we are going to be adding some Elliot Rodriguez original art in January. So the Grimoire original art, as well as the print, the gargoyle print that everyone has received in their physical package. So would like to see if we can get this up to 15K by the end of February. That would be awesome. Uh, the motivation at this point is obviously every dollar that I receive for this campaign is going directly into the first comic issue, which is currently underway. We got character designs underway. I'm about a third through the script and through multiple drafts of that third of the script. Hoping to have the script done probably by the end of this month in regards to at least the entire first draft, since I got some time off of work. So uh, maybe we'll have a sign up page here in March, right after this campaign closes. But obviously, the more I raise in this campaign, the quicker I can get pages done on the new campaign. Looking to have about a 48-page story and have most, if not the whole book done before starting the campaign. I'm not sure if it'll get launched in 2025 or early 2026. I'm not rushing it. I want to learn from past mistakes, whether those are my mistakes or mistakes from other campaigns, and just want to make sure that um, I provide the best book possible with the best story possible, and it will have a killer artist and colorist, so we'll make sure that this book stands out. So, and everything is in stock, so ships within a day or two, typically. You have book one and two of the novel, as well as the duology version, which has the awesome Joe Ball two-way cover here. And we have the mini comic, which the function of that, of course, is to introduce you to every major and supporting character so you know exactly what they look like. You have key information about them, just like this page here. And yeah, it's a tale about a gargoyle and a team of vigilantes fighting terror in Detroit. It's kind of like Hellboy meets Batman with a little bit of Lovecraftian horror tied in there. And yes, it is a more gritty and dark vigilante tale, but has a lot of neuroscience and supernatural and biblical lore. Obviously, with gargoyles, there's a lot of lore around the Catholic Church of why they put gargoyles on top of the cathedrals. Well, a lot of people believe it's so that they would have a creature so hideous that it could even strike fear into evil spirits, right? To keep them out of the church. And I always liked that concept. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna take that and create a hero that uses fear as his greatest weapon, and that he uses that fear to keep evil out of the city and the abilities that are tied to that gift. And so it's definitely a darker tale, but there's a lot of emotion tied to it. There's a love story tied into it, and some other really cool vigilantes. Like in the art here depicted by Corey Barton in the chat. So got Radar and Siberian Scientist here. So yeah, check it out. I don't know if this specific version of the novels, these three um, books here, will be available in the future. Um, Not sure if there'll ever be a second chance campaign. So it may be your only chance to get these versions with the premium comic book size, heavy card stock, lamination, the whole 9 yards. So definitely recommend folks check it out. This will keep you busy until the first comic issue comes out. There's also some fun things like lunch boxes and puzzles and aluminum signs, things of that nature. But yeah, this is the black and white original art here of this grimoire will be available in January. We still do have the original art by Skunk Artworks here for his wraparound painted cover, and that's a big boy since it's wraparound. That'll come framed, and it's very affordable. Skunk is one of those guys that flies under the radar as well. Just a fantastic painter and artist. So please check out the campaign. If anyone has any questions regarding the story, the characters, feel free to shoot. Even like the trolls here. So let's see. I think our troll went back under his bridge, but so he says, "You call him pure of heart, but he takes joy in suffering." Hmm. So I know where he got that talking point. It's not from reading the book. It was from a gentleman named Bat Sauce, his little smear video regarding the morality of my characters. And see, the thing is, in a comic book or novel universe, the writer sets the morals of that universe. They don't necessarily reflect real life, and even in that case, right? It's subjective. Morals are depending on your religion and how you were raised. And in Vigilante's Creed, the celestial gift is it will only it can only be tied to someone that's pure of heart, meaning he wants to help people. He does not want to harm people. He does not want to degrade the world. Um, he's a good person at heart. And he does not take joy in suffering. He does not torture his victims. However, he does leave a mark on them. He's very Frank Miller Batman esque in that sense, because the police are corrupt in this universe. And so he can't hand the criminals over to the police. And initially, right, he's one man on a mission and he does not have a place to imprison these criminals, right? He doesn't have a way to track them. He doesn't have technology at his hands. Like he's just a man and then a gargoyle, and he's got to hide when he's a man. And so he leaves a long scar. Well, it turns into a scar, but a gash beside on the side of their face again to mark them in case he comes across them again, but also to use fear as a weapon, right? So that criminal will think twice before performing a criminal act again, because then they'll have a reminder from that scar of, oh shit, if I go and hurt someone, if I go and sell these drugs, oh, that guy might beat the shit out of me again. He may leave a mark, but again, that mark is a reminder. So he's not sitting there like, oh, this is so awesome, like making this guy hurt. Like, no, there's purpose behind it. Just like there's a purpose if a soldier has to take down an enemy target, right? He's not reveling in the suffering or anything or the outcome of pulling that trigger. He's doing it to protect his fellow soldiers or his country. So that is, of course, a very weak argument that he is putting forth there, and he's calling me a liar that I am saying that I used an editor. Um, Sad trolls, sad trolls. All right. We have Hojo in the chat. Welcome. And yes, I did mention the Superman trailer within 30 minutes. I owe him $1 because yeah, he bet that I would do that. Couldn't help it. Couldn't help it. And we have Mr. Patrick Quinlan, our friend that yeah, we just promoted his book. And his nephew just got baptized. So congratulations on that. That is awesome. And yeah, like the Phantom and the skull ring mark. Yep. Yep. All right. Let's see here. I even forgot to play my little video for the promotion. Man, let's see here. All right, let's go into my weekly rant segment. All right. So, one of the hot topics on Twitter for the last, oh geez, probably 2 years has been around quantity versus quality when it comes to comics. I'm sure a lot of people can guess why that's been a hot topic. Um, but it's an interesting topic nonetheless. You have obviously folks that have the argument of quality art takes time, and in most cases, yes, that is very true. I mean, there are some exceptions of some folks like Kirby and some machines, right, that can just crank out work in just a crazy fashion. Um, but again, they when they work for the mainstream, they have a plethora of support, right? They do not have to worry about marketing. They do not have to worry about budgeting. They can just put their head down and draw. That would be awesome, right? If we could all get paid to do that. But when you're an indie, you're wearing many hats. I mean, literally and figuratively. And for people that are doing line art, for example, and for folks that want to do extreme detail and just try to create a masterpiece, essentially, yeah, they may take several years. And we've seen that with folks that are quote unquote pros or just new indie creators that are just creating some really unique books with crazy detail. Sure, they could reduce that detail, get it out quicker, but they probably wouldn't be as proud as that of that work, and that work wouldn't become as good of marketing material in the future for future books, right? And that material may not be talked about much in the future because they didn't go all out. And so it's a tough thing to balance. Now, I have no issue with folks that are focusing on quantity, right? If everyone has a budget, everyone can only afford certain artists. Everyone would love to have Dale Keown on their project or folks at that caliber, but it's not feasible for most folks. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're a guy that's able to crank out multiple books per year, by all means, that's awesome, regardless of the quality level, right? And that's subjective as well. The only issue that I see is when those folks are trying to take digs at the other folks that are taking multiple years or taking their time because they're focusing on quality, right? They're trying to create something massive. And so I don't think that's okay. I think that's actually a weak argument to try to garner your own sales, right? You're trying to push down other creators. I mean, you're essentially punching up at some of these professional creators in order to get more sales because, oh, well, I'll get you 5 books a year, or I'll get you whatever quantity of books a year. Yeah, but are those books gonna leave a mark? Right? Are they gonna wow you? Some people may not need to be wowed, right? They're okay with, right, like the current, right, Disney quality of films, right? Oh, there's movies constantly. It's great. It's just basic entertainment. They're happy with it. No problem with that. But a lot of that audience isn't attacking companies that are releasing films less frequently or comic book creators that are releasing less frequently. It's just some creators, right, that are taking those digs, and to me, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I understand why they're doing it, right? It's a marketing tactic, unfortunately. And so that's something that, for me, I would rather create one awesome book every 3 years than 3 mediocre books per year that get forgotten and they do not end up becoming dark horse creations, right? They don't break through the the indie scene. They don't break through the audience's expectations. right? I would rather create something that's just that really wows folks and leaves them really hungry for the next book. And a good example of that, let's say in the mainstream, would be films, right? Right now, folks are making videos constantly complaining about Disney, right? The Disney quality sucks. Disney this, Disney that. Disney's woke, blah blah blah, right? It's monotonous. It's lazy, but it gets clicks. It's rage bait. But man, are they cranking them out at a frequent pace? There's so many of these complain tubers that sit there and complain about Disney's quality, but they never praise the quantity. But they one second. My dog is very large and has a very big bark. um anyways, they'll sit there and they'll complain about that nonstop. And but then they'll go and they'll promote and try to sell low quality indie comics or mainstream comics and brag about the frequency. It's completely lopsided. And they'll ignore some of the fantastic comics that come out less frequent because, well, promoting those books won't get them clicks and it won't make them more money. And so, for me, a great example is Christopher Nolan, right? He releases a film probably every 3 to 4 years, but it's always a banger. It's always a movie that gets talked about year over year over year. It'll get re-released in theaters, just like Interstellar did recently. He's a household name. People are okay waiting 3 to 4 years for a film because they know it's going to be epic. And I think all of his fans would agree. I would rather have an epic Oppenheimer, Interstellar, Inception versus a mediocre 1.5 hour film that's just not that impressive with low quality CGI. Because he's a guy that he does not want to use CGI. He uses a lot of props. I mean, he goes all out in regards to cinematography. And that's how some of these indie creators are. They would rather create a banger every 3 to 4 years with just crazy detail, without 3D assets, without shortcuts, and just take the hits of some of the folks that are not okay with that. But again, it's the artist's decision, the creator's decision on which route they want to take. And so, it's unfortunate that, like, I don't see many folks complaining about quantity or saying that person's creating too many books. Like, shame on them. The only time you'll see that is when those folks that are bragging about quantity are taking digs at those that are slower and focusing on quality. Because then it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing high quantity, but look at the quality, right? That's when they're going to get put under a spotlight, and not in a good manner. And so, it would be nice, hopefully in the future, if right that discourse goes away. Let creators work at their own pace. Obviously, as long as those creators are communicating with their backers and keeping them up to date, that's the big thing. But everyone has their own pace, and there's also a lot of creators that the first time they don't know how long it's going to take. It's a guesstimated shipping date or fulfillment date, and life events happen. People have kids, might have to go back to full time work or move, you name it. So hopefully that discourse kind of quiets down over time. So yeah, that's my weekly rant. So, um, but yeah, let's see. Does anyone have any questions for me? One of the reasons why I wanted to start live streaming is, of course, I want to build an audience. YouTube is necessary for it. Um, Going back to one of my points about the mainstream, right? They do the marketing. They have legacy characters, they have legacy titles. It's a lot easier for the creators to just focus on their work. But for us, if we were to do that and then just plop it on a crowdfunding site, it would go unnoticed for the most part, even if it's like high caliber. Um, that's just the nature of being indie. Unfortunately, we have to do the marketing, we have to do the promotion, we have to do the finance, everything, which takes time away from creating. And the other thing too, which I should have mentioned, when it comes to folks that take longer, sometimes it's because they have a 9 to 5. If you have a 9 to 5 and you have a kid and a family, right? A lot of us, we don't get to actually work until, well, 9 o'clock on our stuff. And then you have a window that you can try to be productive before you, well, need to go to sleep so you can maintain your 9 to 5 and continue to support your family. So there are some unrealistic expectations out there and folks that, oh, you have to produce this much, this quick, or it's unacceptable to take this long. And it's like, you got to try to do it yourself before you can make some of those judgments because it's extremely hard. So, you know, I need to do stuff like this to get to know folks, to try to get folks excited about future work so that they can ask questions about my characters, my books, but also get to know me. I think it's really good when you can learn things about creators where you can relate to them. I think a lot of times it makes you more interested in their works as well. So want to give it folks a chance to ask me questions, get to know me. Um, whether you're a troll or not, I guess. But if you're going to be a troll, I'm going to slap back. So, but yeah. All right, we have Mr. Corey Barton here. What were the challenges you had to face putting out your first books on Indiegogo? Well, working with you was not a challenge. It was awesome. So thank you for that. Gonna have to brag about Corey a bit here. He was one of those folks that would just constantly communicate. He would send me several layouts, different sketches, and show me the progress, in multiple phases, which was awesome. And whenever I had, correction requests or tweaks, like just boom, he was right on it. So art was not a difficulty. I mean, I got to understand like how long it takes to do a page. Um, that's it it's an undertaking, especially for the folks again that have 9 to 5s. But for me, it was printing was difficult. You know, my initial fulfillment got moved out like 3 weeks after the first 60 days ended, because I mean everything was done and ready. And I wanted to ship immediately, but the first batch of comics didn't come out great because of the glossy lamination was like blotchy, and it bugged me. So I had to have them reprint it, try um, having them use a different location. Second print run, the same thing, and I'm like, shit. So that delayed it another like week or so, and then I had them change the lamination type, and then boom, like all of it came out fantastic. And so that's something that, I wish I would have delayed the campaign a bit. I felt the pressure of even moving out the campaign because I was like, yeah, I'm going to launch, this month, and I didn't want to be lumped in with late books and all that. But then it's like, eventually you realize like, man, you just got to do what you got to do, go at your own pace, just communicate, because then I would have had plenty of time to get proofs further in advance and get those kinks worked out in regards to lamination. So that was the biggest thing. I wish I would have waited to launch so that I could have had proofs, ready in advance. Maybe even have the first print run done, and have some of the tchotchkes and stuff received early. But I think that was pretty much the biggest challenge. Other than that, it's just figuring out the right way to promote. Obviously jumping on streams is one thing, figuring out how to do your pitch, that just takes some time to not get nervous and get in the swing of things. But figuring out how to do tweets, I mean, keywords, just how you do the layout of your tweet, hashtags, all of that, just kind of tweaking it constantly and doing some trial and error to see which ones get more engagement is I mean, that's a challenge, and I definitely recommend folks just keep trying different things, see what works, figure out how to do different, when to do retweets of your own stuff. So figuring out kind of the how to maximize Twitter is a challenge, but if you do that, it pays dividends. I got a lot of sales or backers strictly from Twitter, not even tied to YouTube, which is awesome. So, all right, Andrew Campbell. Am I going to sell on Amazon? So possibly. So a part of me doesn't want to, because I have put my book on Amazon. The thing is, the reason I'm going to close out in February is I'm going to have to move in March, and I might be doing some traveling for work. So like I won't even be able to physically ship books, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have just left it open until the next campaign popped up. And so, I'm going to close it out and then potentially put it on Amazon. Problem with Amazon is it's hard to separate my crowdfunding brain now from Amazon or like Barnes and Noble Publishing, right? Because Amazon, like with crowdfunding, right, you want the books to be perfect. It's about having a premium product, or premium book. And so in that case, like you have quality control over everything. You can make sure the printing turned out great. You can make sure the packaging is fantastic, right? I had zero issues with damaged products or any complaints about um, like how the books arrived, right? Damages, nothing. It was awesome. But man, when I printed with Amazon, I remember ordering copies or copies for like a convention. And I remember getting 200 books once. I had to get a refund because all the text was slanted. I had a couple, like several copies where they didn't do a good job trimming, like the cover was out of alignment. And I'm just like, I almost don't want to do Amazon because I feel so bad if someone receives a book that doesn't look perfect. But obviously, most folks that buy novels aren't that picky about the cover, the appearance, and all that, right? They just want to read the book. But my crowdfunding brain is like, man, this needs to be perfect and beautiful, right? And realize that, like, hey, the folks that are going to buy it on Amazon potentially, um, again, they can always return it. It's Amazon's responsibility, right? The printing, the quality control. So I got to like separate that. But obviously, they are going to be a different format, different like lamination quality, all of that. I won't be able to do the exact same book, which is why, this campaign may be the only chance to get them in this quality because the printing costs have went up like 30%, or more since I started the campaign. So, and I don't want to charge people more. I really don't want to. So, yeah, Amazon's a possibility. But again, it won't be, in my opinion, something that you can be as proud to like display on a case, and it won't do Corey and Joe and their artwork justice because it'll be again smaller book and all that. So, but I might because again I need to get the story out there, and unfortunately, crowdfunding does not. A lot of just regular novel readers aren't even aware of crowdfunding, and the people that collect like novels and that use crowdfunding or buy them, it's for like special edition hardcovers, right? Really expensive books and all that. And that's not something I want to do right now. Um, so yeah, it would be good to get the book out there to a wider audience. So it's a possibility since I won't physically be able to ship for a while. So thank you for the question. Jimmy the Lumberjack, welcome and thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. It's crazy. It's a week and a day away, or basically a week and 2 hours. So definitely excited. My kid's at that age where he knows what Christmas is. He's excited about it. It's so much fun. Because when they're a really small infant, like they open the present and it's just like it's like any other day almost for them. But now it's like, he's excited for it and really, really, really excited for it. It's fun. Because as an adult, I was never excited about Christmas, really. But once you have a kid, it's like, man, that excitement is back. That charm of Christmas and the holidays is back. So, um, yeah, it's awesome. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When it comes to crowdfunding, quality of not just the outside appearance, but obviously the interiors, right? Um, it should be as premium as possible. Absolutely. And then Andrew Campbell says, damn, what about Justin Kindle and sell physicals on your site? That's a possibility. But again, it's you know, it's a double-edged sword. Amazon provides an outlet for folks to get a lot of stuff at affordable costs, but they do take a big chunk of that sales price. Like it does not leave much for the creators, unfortunately. And the readers and the creators in the novel space are so almost trained to use Amazon that it's like it's a beast at this point. In some ways good, but in a lot of ways bad. Um, and even the audiobooks, they take a pretty good chunk of that, right? And there's not even any printing or anything. And so I can't get the book price low enough to attract people on my site. Like I might eventually have a site where it's like I'll have some stock of like this version. That's a possibility once like I'm not traveling and stuff. Um but yeah, most average novel readers, they won't pay that $8 in shipping. They won't pay 20 bucks or whatever. And I obviously don't want to sell it at a loss. So um that's where you're kind of cornered into selling on Amazon and places like that just to get the story out there and at least get a little bit of a margin from it and you at least get a little relief from the shipping. But I love the shipping. I love packing the books and all that. So that's why I'm excited about the next campaign. So part of the well, it's one of the many reasons. All right, and then Corey, I don't think novels would do that well on Amazon anyway. It's hit or miss, right? They don't do any marketing for you. I'm gonna have to do the same amount of promotion on Twitter and Facebook and all those places. And when I released the first book on Amazon with a different cover and all that different format, it sold pretty well in the first year, but I busted my ass on Twitter to promote it. So I'm kind of excited to see, if the covers will catch people's eyes, and it might sell okay on there. Um, but yeah, it's tough to really catch people's attention because it's all on you to promote. And I'm in a weird situation because a lot of folks, I mean, at least on Amazon, like it'll be categorized as a novel. Folks will know it's a novel if they stumble across it, right? Um, but when folks look at the cover, a lot of people mistaken it for a graphic novel, like a big, thick, Watchmen style graphic novel, and it'll get overlooked. But it also catches the eyes of comic folks who will then consider reading a novel, which is great. So it's a strange scenario, but again, comics inspired me. I love comics. I love comic book style art, and so it's kind of a toss up on how it'll be received on Amazon, but it'll definitely stand out with your guys' art. That's for sure. Christopher Bouchard, welcome. Thank you for joining. And yeah, how's the new comic book going? Yeah, I touched on that a little bit earlier, but yeah, I'm third of the way through the script. Several drafts completed, or revisions done on about the first 16 pages or so. Some of the character designs are underway. Some of the panel layouts, or the first couple pages for panel layouts, or sketches are done. So hopefully get chugging along here in the first quarter of 2025 and possibly have a sign up going. Um, Hopefully spring, maybe summer. We'll see. But yeah, definitely going to take my time on it. So, and no, not going to be talking about the actual Dark Horse comic properties. Just a fun little title for my live stream. How about an audiobook with Gilbert Godfrey AI voice, or get Kid Rock, a favor from a Michigan guy? Yeah, audiobook. I mean, I just won't do AI in relation to anything, I guess, tied to my projects or properties. There's always that concern that it could get the plug could get pulled on it on whatever site it's on if there's legislation down the road or things like that. So, but an audiobook in general, I I considered adding an audiobook like kind of a stretch goal in the current campaign, right? With like a 2 or 3 month window to try to fund it. Would have to raise probably at least $5,000 or so for it. But I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, I almost want to hold off on it because I'm focusing on the comic. I mean, I'm going to be writing the third book once the script is done for the comic, but I almost want to leave the story a mystery for the rest of the potential comic audience. Um, because again, there's just so many potential backers for when I do the comic. Audiobook would be affordable, obviously. It would be very easy to listen to, more convenient. So I'm kind of on the fence on that. But it's definitely an option at any point. So it's always jingling in my head there, that idea. So uh, so yeah. Dark Horse Discourse. The reason why I named the stream that Discourse is obvious, right? We're going to be talking, having conversation around different topics, but Dark Horse because it's primarily around indies. And a dark horse is an underdog. Indies are natural underdogs. We don't have big money supporting us. We don't have big companies doing our promotion, providing us, colorists, providing us all the different tools that we need. And so I think any indie has a chance of being a dark horse creator, right? Rising up and kind of breaking through the rest of the crowd and impressing the audience. I think we all want to be a dark horse creator, especially a new one or new creators, to just create something that really wows people and stands out in the crowd and maybe even breaks out and compared to the mainstream or outshines the mainstream. Not that it's that hard to outshine some of the mainstream comics these days, obviously, but so yeah, and I just like the sound of dark horse discourse, something kind of fun. So, but yeah, all right, and yeah, thank you, Amazing Gaming Productions. Yeah, you have a great night as well. Thank you for joining, and thank you everyone for joining. Humbled and honored that you guys would want to hear me talk, get to know me, and obviously I've wanted to live stream for a long time. Been nervous to do so and had limited time, but finally I got things arranged to where I could do this weekly, and I do plan on eventually having like a guest every week. Um, I don't know when I will do that, and I also plan on maybe one Tuesday out of every month to do a panel promotion stream, similar to what some of the other folks are doing, and just really, really try to see how many backers we can get, folks, and build some hype around some of these campaigns, and see what I can do to give back, right? Because so many channels and so many creators, whether they're in this chat or even non-creators, have helped me and helped me have a successful campaign. I want to do that for others. Again, I haven't been able to do that in the past. I try to promote as much as I can on Twitter, but this gives me a chance to give back to folks that have helped me out, and also try to give a a new creator a leg up, right? Because most folks come in, they don't know what to do. They haven't had their lessons learned, and I want to be able to try to help them, give them a platform to get their stuff out there, because again, getting that first book funded is huge, not just to your motivation, your confidence, but that funding again can be that launching pad for the second one, just like I'm doing. And so yeah, would like to be able to help folks that were in my position a year and a half ago, and also help establish folks, right? Give back to them for bringing me on their channel, and hopefully get them some backers. I think we need more promotion. There's less promotion channels, unfortunately, and again, that guilt by association, I think, has really pushed a lot of people away from joining different channels, from doing live streams, and I hope folks will stop being afraid of that, because the more folks that shy away from doing this, the less funding that campaigns are going to get. The harder it's going to be for the entire indie community. So we don't need that at all. So let's definitely try to help folks out. All right. And then we have Niobe Comics again. The truth is, there's very little money in comics. Thousands will try and maybe four or five will make it. Yeah. I mean, the potential is there. I mean, we've seen a lot of creators make good or raise good funds, but that always doesn't mean profit, right? I think a lot of folks get stars in their eyes when they see someone made like 100,000. Well, you got to take out probably 25,000 for shipping, and then you got to take out X amount for shipping or for printing the books, and then you have to pay all your artists, and then you have taxes, and it's like there's not that much left. That's why if someone wants to do this for like a career, I mean, you got to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars and you have to be scientific in your approach towards the business side of things. And it's not easy, but it can be done. But you got to have a palatable project. You got to be able to promote yourself. You got to be able to express yourself in a good manner. Um, it's a ton of work and effort, and I think there are a lot of folks that don't realize that until they have done their first campaign, and a lot of them have been scared after that, or they give up, which is a shame. But again, that's why I think it'd be good for creators to do videos to talk about right the mistakes they've made, the things that they've um, the lessons that they've learned, and try to help others because there were creators like Joe Sontag and others that I had conversations with that helped me learn and get ready for a campaign. That was huge. So definitely reaching out to folks and connecting them with others is huge. Let's see here. Then we have Indie Comics Outliers. Welcome, Andrew Campbell. So I found that yeah, it's not the writing that's hard. It's getting someone to read it. Absolutely, the writing is fun. And I think for a lot of line artists and colorists, right, it's fun. But for writers, you're not going to get a page rate, most likely. I mean, yeah, you some folks might get hired for projects, but I mean, obviously the page rates aren't real high for writers in most cases. But the writing is fun when you have the time. It's a blast. Absolutely love the 5 years I took writing those two novels. Research, just going to different cafes, and I mean, I was in different countries writing it. It was awesome. I miss it. I'm excited to get back to it. I mean, writing the comic right now is a nice change in pace, and I'm really enjoying translating the first portion of the first novel into comic format. It's really really exciting, and I feel like I really have a knack for it. So, but yeah, it's hard to promote. I mean, you can be really good at promoting yourself and speaking and pitching your story, but networking with folks, getting a following, messing with the algorithms, like that's where it's really really difficult. A lot of times there's luck involved. Other times it's just patience, right? It took me several years to get on some bigger channels, to get more exposure and get, a good chunk of funding. So you can't you can't come into it expecting to be on big channels. Like you gotta make some small waves that can become bigger waves that will then get the attention of some of the bigger folks so they can get on their channel, and also just being respectful to them and promoting them and being appreciative, like that's going to get you a long way. Comics are competitive. I don't want to bring my competition on my shows. I mean, that's understandable. Um, but yeah, I want to have fun and promote everybody that I can, with the limited time I have, and hopefully they'll promote me, right? That's part of it too. You help others, hopefully they'll help you, and everyone wins. All right, and then Amazing Gaming Productions. Not hard to outshine a lot of the mainstream. Yep. Especially in gaming now, games are so watered down that they're drowning in their own arrogance. Yeah, I think that's happening I mean, look at the comic book movies, right? It almost seems like they don't care, they're not trying in so many of the films, but it's like they got so comfortable with the money that they had early on in Marvel and with the Snyderverse that they think that, oh, people just naturally come if you slap Blue Beetle on the title or Superman on the title. But no, they've pushed a lot of consumers away and just created a lot of skeptics, which that does not bring you money. And that's why a lot of those films are not making a profit. If no one wants to read it, then you're already starting with a shit product. Work on your presentation. Yeah, I mean, it's a balance. You've got to have a palatable product or book, but you also have to be able to present it and intrigue folks. Part of that is physical presentation. Part of that is vocal presentation, and then a big chunk of it is online presentation. Unfortunately, right? But that's indies for you. We have to rely on all those things. Most lose 60% after costs. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I could see how that could happen. And yeah, don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button. Would like to, try to get up to 1,000 subs and all of that good stuff eventually. And yeah, thank you guys for joining. Oh yeah, could you call the live streams Vigilantes Assembly? I mean, maybe for the promotion segment with the group of people. Yeah, I still got to come up with some sort of catchy name for that live stream. But yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, or that's true. I mean, with Amazon, I don't think they're printing comics yet, but yeah, for novels and stuff like that, definitely you can always start with that. I mean, for me, I'm glad I started with Amazon, learn the hard way with being impatient to then go and learn about crowdfunding, be patient and do it as well as possible and have the campaign that I have now. So I'm very glad I didn't do the crowdfunding first, fall on my face, and then just say, oh, screw it, I'm just going to toss it on Amazon and it would never get seen by anyone because, some folks just don't have that promote or that motivation at that point to push um, for sales. And the other thing too is right with crowdfunding, there's that team aspect of it, right? A lot of backers really like that camaraderie and like that push to like, let's get this person funded. Let's see if we can hit this goal. Let's see if we can get this stretch goal. It's not like that with Amazon, right? And so I feel like crowdfunding, there's like that extra incentive, and of course, a lot of the campaigns won't even happen if you don't fund the campaign. And so there's that good feeling of like I'm investing and helping them bring this to life. Where with Amazon, it's free to put it on there. It doesn't cost you anything. I mean, of course, you got to get cover artist and editor and all of that stuff, but yeah, but that's what I love about crowdfunding is that sense of people coming together, trying to lift people up, versus the quietness of Amazon. And see, this is going to be another weekly rant. I'm going to hold off a little bit, but yeah, exactly. Just because a lot of people read something doesn't make it good. High sales does not equate to high quality. Absolutely. And vice versa. There are books that don't sell well that are phenomenal out there that are severely underfunded. Again, Immortal Rising, my opinion, severely underfunded. I mean, he hit his campaign goal, but that book should be five figures, if not, 20 plus thousand based on the quality and the storytelling. Do you have time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? One of those melodramatic, fools neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Now we got some nice lyrics in the chat here. Yep, yeah, algorithms, and that's a tough thing too. Like I personally don't want to try to chase algorithms, but I also want to flirt with them. You know what I mean? to see what can come out of it. But yeah, you're doing. Not sure who that's referencing. I'm stupid enough to read this message. I'm not sure why. Ha ha ha. Yeah, we have a troll in the chat. No shocker. Yes. Hi, Mike. Don't want to say I hope you're enjoying the photos of myself that you saved on your phone when you were spazzing out on Twitter, but ugh. But yeah. Yeah, definitely. If you go too far, obviously, my mods are welcome to shush you or ban you. So, all right. Well, I think that will do it for tonight. I don't think we have any other questions. But again, yeah, thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun to talk, and yeah, just honored and humbled that you guys would join. So thank you. And again, yeah, I'll be doing this every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, I look forward to having guests on in the future, having some more weekly rants and different segments. So thank you guys. Please go check out those campaigns that we discussed. Let's support indie comics and support creators. And yeah, have a Merry Christmas. I will stream, I think, on Christmas Eve. So yeah, try to have some fun with that. But yeah, have great holidays and have a great rest of your night. Take care, everybody. God bless.